Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest edition of the Burgundy Brigade Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Goff, at BRG Brigade Kevin, joined by my good friend and co-host at Avalangelist on the Twitter, Aaron Music. Aaron, my man, we've been chatting a little bit before we get rolling here. How's things out in Denver?
Hot.
Nice.
Very hot, very smoky. Pray for rain, everyone.
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of stuff that seems that the state is on fire again, so hopefully that there will be some good weather that comes your way to give you guys a little bit of respite there. So,
yeah, it'd be nice.
It would be nice for sure. So I will obviously we'll hope for that. Free agency obviously has been going on for the past since July 1st. And I guess before we go too much on that, happy Canada Day to everybody in Canada, and happy 4th of July to all of our...
We ended our last podcast by saying that.
Yes, we did, and we'll start our next one, our current one with this. So not congratulations, but happy of those days to both of those folks listening. And I mean, there's obviously been a lot of action going on. There's always been a lot of spending on free agency days, and the Avalanche... While there was a lot of talk for that the Avs could be going after a few individuals, they really didn't. A lot of folks, we spent a lot of time talking about a potential return to Colorado for Paul Stastny, who went over to Las Vegas.
Vegas, baby.
Vegas, baby, Vegas. And James Van Riemsdyk, of course, was another one that the Avalanche that had a lot of people had the Avalanche looking at. He went to Philadelphia for a ridiculous amount of money. And the other one, Calvin DeHaan, went to Carolina. So
yeah, I really like that Carolina defense.
They're set up pretty nice.
Assuming they can get some consistent goaltending.
Well, that's the trick, isn't it? That's the trick. So I mean, the big names that the Avalanche had been connected to obviously did not come to the Avalanche, and the Avs made basically two signings. There were a couple minor league moves that happened as well for the Avs to help fill out the Loveland roster, but basically the two signings that happened were the Avalanche signed defenseman Ian Cole to a contract, 3 years, $4.25 million on the AAV, and Matt Calvert, 3 years at $2.8 million and the AAV. So, I mean, what do you make of this? There's always just, I mean, everyone always talks about building depth on the defense, and now we've got a lot of. This seems like there's a bit of a logjam coming in on the defense.
Not a bad thing.
Not a terrible thing, but depending on...
It's not a bad thing because the guys that would be coming up are young, so you want them to be fully ready by the time they do that. You don't have to push them into service because you would need a spot.
Yeah. But then at the same time, now you've got these guys with a bunch of guys with a decent amount of money committed to them, and if you're going to have one of these young guys come in to play... The big question now becomes is who sits?
Barbario or Nemeth, whichever the two of those.
Well, I mean, depending on what you believe as far as what Nemeth is going to end up getting, that certainly creates. I mean, you can have several $1 million on the bench in that sense, and that, I mean, whether or not we want to say that people should be thinking about that. That's a thing that comes into. That's certainly something that comes into play.
Yeah,
so.
I don't really. I'm not going to get so. Barbario is a seventh defenseman, and he's going to be a seventh defenseman. Do you know how happy that makes me?
Yeah, 6 or 7 defensemen. Yeah, it certainly is a good spot for him, definitely.
He's a defenseman. He's good when he comes into the lineup to cover for someone who's injured, and then when that person comes back, he goes back out of the lineup. It keeps your prospects from being overexposed. He's actually a good locker room presence. They kept him around. I'm glad he's back, and I'm glad that's the role that they're putting him in.
Yeah.
At least imagine they will.
Indeed. So, I mean, what do you make of the money? Obviously, it's free agent frenzy. People get overpaid. Everybody gets overpaid on July 1st. So it should not.
July 1st, you either pay money or you pay term, and I'd rather pay money than term.
Well,
the 3 years is a tad long, but it's not. He's 28 years old. He has 2 Stanley Cup rings. He's actually
29,
and he played some meaningful minutes for those Pittsburgh Penguins teams that won back-to-back Stanley Cup champions.
Sure, no, I don't have a problem with Coles, really. I mean, that's a little more money-wise than I would have liked, but I don't have an issue with him at all. I think Adrian Dater was saying his money time for defensemen, probably the best years of their careers between 27 and 32. And Cole, I think, is 28 or 29. He's right in that area. So, and I kind of agree. That time they're still at the peak of their physical work, and are certainly at the peak of their mental acuity for the game as well. So while we've got Cole, who, as you said, he had played a lot of really meaningful minutes for a back-to-back Stanley Cup champion. That's not a bad thing to have. Cole takes a lot of penalties, sure, but he's certainly a guy that has the experience that you want without being so experienced that you have Francois Beauchemin or Brad Stewart again.
And yeah, I don't have a huge problem with it, and free agency, I think people really wanted to be wowed, and there really wasn't. I wasn't prepared for anything.
There were certainly a lot of different options that could be happening, both on the wow side and on the meh side, and everywhere really in between. And it's I guess it's not terribly surprising that the Avs ended up on the mess side again. That's kind of where they've been for the last several years, and I mean it's just kind of what they stick away from the ridiculous bidding wars for players in free agency, which is not, I would say, is not a bad thing. There of course were the reports that the Avalanche were trying to get a seat at the John Tavares table, but Tavares didn't give them a seat at the table. So
he was going to stay east for. I mean, unless someone from the West really wowed him. And, yeah. I mean, looking back, we probably should have seen Toronto was the clear favorite.
Made sense, yeah. Certainly did make it certainly makes sense. I mean, the whole Toronto situation is going to be another very interesting one in the future, as they now have a hell of a lot of money committed to not a lot of guys, and have a few other guys who are going to be very necessary to them up for their new contracts after their ELCs. So it's gonna be very interesting to see what goes on there. I think so. I mean, so we talked about Ian Cole. I mean, maybe it's a little bit more money than you'd want to spend. Not a ton, really, that you would think. He's that guy that kind of could be on either your second or third pair, kills penalties. It's still, like we said, has all that great playoff experience without being over the hill, and just he is going to be, I think, a good solidifying presence for the team. And then there's Matt Calvert. Matt Calvert is a bottom six.
Blake Como, but younger.
Blake Como, but younger, basically. Bottom six guy, younger, faster, too. Doesn't really have the size that Como has. Gosh, go away.
But he has more speed than Como has.
Certainly has a lot more speed.
Same amount of scoring. You really hope he's on your fourth line.
Yeah.
But you really would like him to be on your fourth line, killing penalties and just being a spark plug all over the place.
Yeah, at the same time, it's just, I mean, who's going to play above him, though? He just sort of naturally slides into Como's spot.
Yeah, right now, what you'd really like is that third line to mold itself into your fourth line within the next year and a half.
Yeah. But, I mean, at the moment, Como sorry, it's not, that Como, Soderberg, Nieto, now Soderberg, Nieto, because Nieto re-signed. We'll get to him in a minute. And Calvert has that third line feel, and of course that line last season spent a lot of really for quite a while was basically your second line. And that's definitely not what you want.
The first line is easy.
That's easy.
Yeah. The second line, I know two parts of it. It's
we'll get to the lineup in a little bit here.
Yeah, but the Nieto, Soderberg, and Calvert is going to be your shutdown line.
Yeah.
And like if you split the difference between Blake Como and Gabriel Bork, that's where you have Matt Calvert.
Yep. Yep.
And Bednar knows him. He's coached him before. He probably loves him. So it'll be fine. It's not going to be. Don't expect great things, and you won't be disappointed.
I mean, this one is way more money than I would want for a guy on a third or fourth line.
Yeah, it feels like they fell in love with him and then signed the check.
I mean, or that they felt like maybe there were going to be more bids for him and tried to just put a bully offer in that he couldn't really say no to. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I mean, that it just doesn't look like a great number.
I'm not going to love it. I'm not going to hate it. Maybe the Bednar system brings out something that we haven't seen.
Sure. And I mean, at the same time, I'm not super worried about cap numbers for the Avs for a while.
When Nathan McKinnon is signed at $6.5 million for the next while, you stop worrying about money.
Yeah. I mean, the Avalanche have really two big guys that they need to worry about re-signing in the immediate future. Mikko Rantanen and Nikita Zadorov. And those two guys between them could be anywhere between 10 and 14 million. And combined. And
14 is way high.
Yeah, 14 would be very high.
10 million is about where I think it'll be.
And that of course those contracts won't kick in until the 2019-2020 season, where currently the Avalanche only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys signed beyond that year. There's a lot of money to go around. So the Avs have set themselves up pretty well as far as the salary cap is concerned.
And to be perfectly honest, they're going to be losing $5.9 million off the books that's going to Varlamov.
Yep.
If they resign him, there's no way they resign him for that number.
Oh, hell no. Absolutely, yeah.
And so basically, you take the money you save from Varlamov and give it to Zadorov.
Yep.
More or less.
Indeed. It's, yeah. They certainly have they've made their lives easier as far as the salary cap has been concerned. Joe Sakic has been very, very. You can see he's been very, very conscientious of of all of the money that's coming and going. So he knows that he kind of knows, it seems like, that every free agency day there's going to be a couple guys he's going to have to dip a little deeper into his pockets than he really wants to. But otherwise, he gets guys for pretty decent money. Mm-hmm. And we don't really have to worry too much about it. Go ahead.
And it's a young team that's still rebuilding.
Yep.
Keep that in mind.
Absolutely. Obviously, we all got a taste of the playoffs, so now everybody wants playoffs or die.
I want to go back to the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Teams haven't been back to the playoffs in consecutive years in over a decade.
I completely agree. That is certain. That is always the goal. But let's face it, we all still probably view the Avs as a bit of a bubble team.
Definitely a bubble team
that could make it or might not make it. So just because at the same time, while we obviously want them to get there, let's back off a little bit from the cliff to assume that just because they maybe don't make the playoffs in this coming season, that it's necessarily failure beyond all measure.
It depends on how they would miss.
Agreed. And that's exactly the next thing I was absolutely going to say. It 100% depends on what happens and how they miss it. If they're in it until the last thing and maybe they have another Game 82 situation and this time they're just on the short end of it, then you know what? That's not a big deal. If they have another 48-point season, obviously then there's an issue. That's not so much of a...
But, on the other end, if the Avs are terrible for one more year, they'll get 2 top 5 picks. So they've got that going for them.
That's very true.
Wouldn't that be just a kick in the nuts that the Avs get? That the Avs win the draft lottery with their own pick to go above Ottawa and pick 1 and 2?
That would be hilarious.
That'd be like a Sedin situation.
That would be so hilarious. Like, that would be some ultimate karmic payback for the Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. The only other signing really worth mentioning right now, Matt Nieto re-signed today, avoiding his arbitration. He filed for arbitration, and the Avs signed him before the hearing today. 2 years at $1.975 million, so a bit of a bump from where he was last year, which was not there. He was just at a $1 million contract last season, so he basically doubles his salary and doubles the term of the contract. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't have really an issue with the number. He said he was kind of on a show me what you got type of contract, and he had a heck of a year. The guy had a career year as far as goals scored, and played very well. Had sort of a slow start to the season. There was healthy scratched after game 1, and then came back and was very, very a very big part of that third or second line, whatever you want to say about it, was a big part of the penalty kill.
It should have been the third line, but it played the minutes of a third line, but it acted as the second line of the Avs.
Yes, that.
But it's still the best shutdown line they've had in a long, long while.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the best things that your shutdown line can do is go spend some real meaningful minutes in the offensive zone. And they did that.
And both Soderberg and Como had revitalist years. They really took the last season to heart and actually moved to change themselves.
Yeah.
But as the players that they were, they skated more. They put in a lot more of an effort. And it paid off. Bednar really came to rely on them later in the season, late in games.
Indeed. Certainly did. So, yeah, we got 2 more years of Matt Nieto, and I don't know if you know this, but he is a Long Beach, California native.
And it's, if you've ever seen Mark Moser,
Yeah. As soon as that signing hit Twitter, every single person was responding with Long Beach native Matt Nieto. So I just had to toss that in there too. Let's see. The only other player that we're still kind of waiting on with the Avalanche is
Patrick Nemeth.
Yes, him. Golly, what a brain fart there. Patrick Nemeth, who has also filed for arbitration, and it was apparently in the free agency press conference that Joe Sakic had, apparently also underwent off-season shoulder surgery, might not be ready for the start of the year.
Yeah, unless it's the Andrew Luck kind of shoulder surgery, he should be fine.
Yeah, it was just kind of a random thing that seemed to catch a lot of people off guard there. All the folks that were talking about it. I know the BSN guys definitely seem to have been caught off guard by that particular piece of news, and yeah. So I mean, I guess that shines another light onto the Cole signing. If for whatever reason, and Zadorov too has had off-season shoulder surgery, and they aren't really committing to a date as to when they'll be ready. Either of those guys. So Cole could be getting more minutes than we expect from him at the start of the year, depending on whether or not those guys are good to go.
I expect them both to be good to go, though Cole may be more useful in the preseason.
Yeah.
as those guys really just they ease back in.
Yep, that makes sense. So overall, if we look at the Avalanche free agency, I'm going to go ahead and include the Grubauer trade in this.
That's definitely part of your free agency.
Yeah,
and also part of your free agency is keeping around the guys that you wanted.
Indeed. So they managed to acquire Philip Grubauer and re-signed him to a 3-year contract at $3 million, just over $3 million a year. They re-signed Matt Nieto. Patrick Nemeth is going to arbitration. They re-signed all their several other guys, Gabriel Bork, a bunch of other guys on those on lesser contracts. Mark Barberio coming back there. Then brought in Ian Cole and Matt Calvert. So after today, or after as of today, I should say, do you think the Colorado Avalanche are a better team than they were at the end of the season?
On goaltending alone, they are, yes. Ian Cole is an upgrade over Patrick Nemeth, who he'll probably snag those minutes that Nemeth was playing, which pushes Nemeth down to a bottom pairing, which is where he ought to be.
Okay.
Grubauer is healthier, so that's a bonus when it comes to talking about goaltender. Calvert, that's kind of a net even. What is really going to determine whether the Avs are a better team or not is the growth of Tyson Jost, the health of Sven Andrighetto. He's actually more key than I think people realize. And then continued growth and / emergence of JT Compher, Alexander Kerfoot, Vladislav Kamenev, and maybe AJ Greer, and also Sam Girard.
Yeah.
The core of the Avs, the first line, plus their top 3 defensemen will drive the way this team functions on most nights. You're looking at a center who's probably going to get 90 points, at least if he played the way that he did last year, which is not just the production, but the way that he was playing, how he was around the puck and with the puck, and how everyone else game planned for him, because he does that. He also fireman carries Rantanen to 82 points and Landeskog to 60, where Landeskog would probably be a 50-point guy and Rantanen would probably be 60. McKinnon is that critical. Now the Avs just need to make a second scoring line out of the pieces that they have, and they need Tyson Jost to become that second line center. If they don't, if he's still relegated to the wing or he just doesn't show that he can do that, that's something that they need to address soon.
Yeah, I think all in all, I mean, both the signings they made kind of, they make sense. They needed someone to fill in Como's role. They took that. They got that taken care of. They wanted to get a bit more defensive depth. They took care of that. I think it makes it that the things that I feel like this did that maybe that aren't the most aren't really on the most positive side of things is that they seem to have made it more difficult for a guy like Connor Timmins to get in the lineup next year.
That's not a terrible thing.
Not necessarily, but I mean, if we're going to go ahead and take Joe Sakic at Joe Sakic's words from the end of the year, he expected Connor Timmins to be in the lineup this coming season. And at this point, there doesn't really seem to be a spot for him.
Well, injuries happen, and he will probably, if he plays well in Loveland, he will be the first call-up. And after that first call-up, if he has a good stretch of games, he will stick around.
Potentially. I mean, I don't know that he necessarily is the first call-up.
I mean, I don't know that they're necessarily going to use a call-up on a guy like Mark Alt. But it's all about Timmins, is recovering from some injuries.
Yes.
So that's you're going to want to make sure that he's 100% healthy, and that may include a stint in Loveland just to get his wheels back on. And also, you need, in Jared Bednar's group system, how your effort is rewarded with minutes. And even if there's a logjam of defensemen and they have to keep a guy like Patrick Nemeth in the press box to play Connor Timmins, who's playing better, I fully believe Jared Bednar is going to do that.
I don't know that he would necessarily, because he loves him some Patrick Nemeth.
Yeah, but Patrick Nemeth also played well. And what this really sets up, and seriously, it sets this up, you can start a calendar countdown to Tyson Barrie getting moved.
Probably, yeah. I feel like the Avalanche would be smart to start, especially once the arbitration stuff happens. Well, God, maybe even before the arbitration stuff happens, because there's, of course, all sorts of fun rules that come along with that, to see if they couldn't move Patrick Nemeth.
I think, actually, it wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility for both of them to be moved at once.
Of course, I mean...
Combo that deal?
Nemeth induced the arbitration, so the Avalanche should be allowed to trade him at post the thing. I'm just trying to remember the rules.
The trade isn't going to happen until maybe the trade deadline, or at the very latest the draft. And my guess would be that you send both of them to Toronto for one of the scorers that Toronto suddenly can't afford.
Don't tell Kyle Dubas that.
Don't tell who?
The Toronto's GM.
It's going to happen. Embrace it. There's no way you can fit Nylander, Marner, Matthews.
They're going to do it. They're going to do it.
Okay.
That's what he says. No, I believe, I'm with you, but he seems to be convinced that they are going to be able to do that. So, I mean, a little off topic, but yeah, I mean, so that's the kind of the first negative thing, is it seems to have made a bit of a more difficult path for not only Connor Timmins, but what we're getting into. We've talked a lot of times about, we kind of expect once March comes along, we expect to have Cale Makar to talk about as well. Cale Makar, now suddenly his path directly into an NHL lineup isn't necessarily one that's paved pretty clearly. Joe's.
Let me be honest with you. Is that a bad thing?
It depends. You could certainly make the argument that it would be good for Makar to come straight into the AHL to make sure that he has time to adjust and all of that. But let's face it, is that what we are expecting from Cale Makar?
What? No longer are we. We're not trying to force guys into a role that they're not suited for.
But how? At the same time, how are we going to necessarily know that Makar is not suited for the NHL until he gets a spot in there?
He'll get a shot. You'll see him.
Will you?
Yeah. They'll find a way to do it.
Where does he sit? Who sits?
Barberio, Nemeth.
You're already talking about Barberio being the guy who is sitting.
Yeah,
he's already sitting. So Barberio's already sitting. He's not replacing.
Already on the bench. He's already in the press box. So you just have to clear out one spot.
And so which of the guy that you're paying multiple $1 million a year to are you going to force to sit for a kid?
Hey, if he's not as good as the kid, then he sits.
That's so easy to say, but that's not how it just works. That's not how there's no just snap. That's not how it just works. There's so much more. There's so many more politics into it, and you know that. And
there's so many. When's Erik Johnson going to get hurt again?
Potentially, we don't know. That part we obviously don't know. It may be that there's a mountain of injuries, but maybe perhaps this is the year he plays 80 games. We don't know.
If he plays 80 games, someone else is going to get hurt. Defense, you generally need about 9 of them at very least. because injuries happen. And that's when you find out which of your prospects is going to arrive and actually seize a spot that he will never let go.
I don't know. I don't buy that. You're talking about these two guys who are supposed to be guys that are going to be in your lineup and changing the guard, so to speak. And if you're not giving them there's no place for them to go do that right now.
And when they come in, they're properly insulated, so you're not instantly giving them top 4 minutes.
No one's saying giving them top 4 minutes, but there's nowhere for them even on the bottom pair right now. There's nowhere for them even on the bottom pair right now.
Prospect comes in, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're thrown into this role because we have to do that." It's dangerous. It's bad.
No one's saying put Connor Timmins in the top 4 from the start of the season. No one is saying that. There's not a person saying that. Joe Sakic was talking this at the end of the offseason here, that they wanted the team to get younger and faster. Well, he has the opportunity to have a young, very, very promising, very talented defenseman that they could put into the lineup in a spot where he could be properly insulated on a bottom pair, see how he handles it, and then they go out and then they go out and make the signings that they've made. I feel like if they were going to commit to him, and still go out and get Ian Cole, then why the hell are they bothering to re-sign either of Mark Barberio or Patrick Nemeth? It doesn't make sense.
And I'm still not sold that they're truly sold on Nemeth. Well, I feel like if they were truly sold on Nemeth, it would be a done deal.
Well, I guess it depends on what he's asking. So it's going. I mean, it's the whole the arbitration stuff for him is going to be an interesting.
How the Avalanche get their prospects in will be something to watch, but they really only have 3 defensive prospects worth note. Now, 2 of them are worth noting a lot.
Yes.
And the way that they've done it up to this point, they have a plan. And I'm not sure what that is, but they are going to make sure that these guys are ready, that they're healthy. I think the concussion with Timmins spooked them a little bit. That's point possible. That they maybe weren't going to go down this road, but they decided to, so that Timmins can come back 100% healthy.
Yeah.
Because sending a guy who has concussion problems or might not be fully back and putting him in the NHL, that's a scary thought.
Yep. Yep. It's very interesting here. So I mean, we'll go the other thing that to kind of move forward. Sorry, that I feel like the Avalanche didn't really do with this free agency, and you kind of touched on it with when you were talking about how so much of it depends on the progression of some of the young guys, specifically guys like Tyson Jost and JT Compher. They really didn't address their secondary scoring. The team really
basically put all their they said, "Yep, our young kids are going to grow. They're going to be our secondary scoring."
Yeah, unless they have some sort of trade up their sleeve to help address this, then yeah, that's basically what they're saying.
I think the trade is Plan B.
I agree.
They're going to try it with the secondary scoring, and if the secondary scoring is so inhibited to the point that they need to get maybe Panarin, Nylander, Marner, if they need to get someone like that, they have the assets and the wherewithal to do it.
To pull that off, yeah.
But they're going to at least give it the college try.
Yeah, so I mean,
especially the way that Tyson Jost grew through the year, I think they thought he was on the cusp in an off season of strength training and just overall, okay, that's what your first year of the NHL is, will help him a lot, and they're banking that with that you will have a guy that steps into that second line role and flourishes.
Yeah. And if we're going to be fully honest about it, Kerfoot kind of was that secondary guy till about halfway through the season. And he certainly petered out a bit once
his regression is going to be fierce.
Well, I mean, I think you can count on him to be kind of that 30 to 40 kind of point guy.
Yeah, he's going to need to make more assists happen.
Well, that's an odd thing to say about a guy who
ultra high.
Yeah, I should say it's an odd thing to say about a guy who passes as much as he does.
I mean, he scored some of the luckiest goals I've ever seen.
Yeah, he had a solid year. He did a lot of good things. Goes to the right areas, and he's very creative and slippery. So he certainly has a lot of positives in that sense. One of the big things that's going to be interesting to watch between those two is which of those guys is actually going to end up being the center. And I think you really want it to be Tyson Jost.
It's going to be. You hope it's Tyson Jost because Kerfoot is almost a tailor-made to be a winger. He just doesn't do the center thing as well as, like the 200-foot game. He doesn't quite have that the same way that Tyson Jost has.
Yeah, for sure. So, let's see here. That I guess is that's pretty much the two kind of downsides that I see to the particular. To the off season here. So I mean, I guess you got to like Grubauer, especially the way they got him. I mean, that was I mean, just the way they got him was really, really smart. Like minimal commitment the other way. Sure, they've got a couple years of buyout stuff from Brooks Orpik, but I mean that's so minimal that it's almost not even worth mentioning.
Right.
And that'll be gone. I mean, it's $2.5 million this year, $1.5 million next year, as far as that buyout is concerned, and it's negligible. So moving forward here, what should we do next? You want to? Obviously, we're obviously going to talk about Erik Karlsson.
We need to talk. It's when you talk about whether the Avs are improved or not, especially where they play, we need to talk about the division itself.
Yeah. So let's go down that route.
Two guys basically treaded water. They were the Nashville Predators and the Winnipeg Jets.
Sure. And
neither team lost a whole lot. I mean, Winnipeg lost Stastny and Enstrom, but that's not a huge loss when you have Kyle Connor ready to take that spot.
For sure. And they did most of their positive damage before they even had Stastny. They had him for basically a grand total of 30 games between the end of the season and the playoffs.
Stastny was good in the playoffs.
Oh, he was great in the playoffs. So those two, are Nashville and Winnipeg. While they didn't necessarily do a lot to make themselves better, not a ton happened to make either of them worse, and they're already both pretty freaking good.
And they're the class of the Central. They'll both be Stanley Cup contenders yet again.
I'm interested to see what happens with Winnipeg. Because, I mean, for years, Winnipeg was that team that everybody looked at and went, my God, how come this team isn't better than they are? And now,
they never had consistent goaltending until last year.
And then this season they had obviously a fantastic year. I'll be interested to see how they go forward, if they have any type of regression at all. How are they going to deal being a team that actually has some pretty lofty expectations for them now? Nashville, like you said, this is going to be they're still kind of they're used to being up there at this point. They are the favorites of the division, and they know how to deal with all of that.
And they have the best top four in the entire league.
Defensively speaking?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I figured that's what
that's top four.
Top four, yeah. Just making sure. Yeah, hard to argue that for sure. Hard to argue that for sure. So then the Avalanche kind of got moderately better, maybe a little bit. Depends a lot on how, like we were mentioning, it depends a lot on how their younger guys progress and continue forward. Then you've got poor Chicago.
Poor Chicago. They put themselves into this place.
I know. I mean, it's hard to necessarily look too far past them because they still have a couple of guys named Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves as part of that team.
But yet they're all kind of getting... Their aging, specifically their defense, has a lot of miles on it.
Yeah, I mean, their defense fell off a lot this year. And it's important to note, I mean, I think a lot of it also goes to show exactly how valuable a guy like Corey Crawford really is. He's very underrated.
Yeah, and Hjalmarsson, too. Mm-hmm. Losing him was actually more crucial than I think they thought.
Yeah. So, I mean, guys like Brent Seabrook and Duncan Keith, they're continuing. They're both 33 and 34, respectively, and still signed for a ton of years for a lot of money. They're going to have to eventually look how to move forward from those guys at some point. At some point, they may have bounce back years. They're not necessarily chopped liver just yet, but they certainly did not have their best seasons last year. And other than those guys, really, it's hard. I mean, they don't have much defensively.
And with the question with Chicago is, was this an aberration or the beginning of a new trend?
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot I can say one way or the other.
Really, the only move that they made was to sign Cam Ward to a 1-year deal, which I guess kind of a decent insurance policy for Corey Crawford. Cam Ward, while aging, is still a pretty decent goalie.
Not really.
You could do worse.
You could do worse, but you could do a whole hell of a lot better.
Yeah, fair. For the price they got him for, though.
I'd take Anton Forsberg on my team before Cam Ward. Thank you very much.
Well, that's odd, because he is on their team.
Mm-hmm. They're not keeping 3 goaltenders, and they're not sending Cam Ward down to the AHL.
No, for sure. That
means Anton Forsberg's going down to the AHL,
yes,
and
indeed.
he probably shouldn't. I mean, he wasn't great last year, but he's 25. Let him be your backup.
Yeah.
They have... So technically they have $2 million in cap, but that's going to go up to $7 million once Marian Hossa's itchiness gets put on IR. He's all the Simpsons cartoon because he's itchy and scratchy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They signed Chris Kunitz, who is 38 years old.
Oh my
so
God.
He fits right in line with their other team.
Yeah.
I like Alex DeBrincat.
Yes, he is an excellent young player. Alex.
They also signed Brandon Manning, Erik Gustafsson. There's just Seabrook is paid, and he's going to be a free agent in 2024. And he's making $6.8 million.
That's so much and so long.
And he's 30. He's a 58-year-old man in a 33-year-old's body. Like, he uses a stick as a walker, not as a stick.
Oh my goodness.
He's more liable to fall down and not get up than get back to stop a breakaway.
God. Fair. Yeah.
And oddly enough, he's younger than Duncan Keith, who's 34, but I like Keith a whole lot better because he's still mobile.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot that makes me think Chicago is heading to be the last team in the Central. They'll still be competitive, but their offseason has not helped them.
Yeah.
It took a look at their year and went, well, we got old and slow, so we're just going to get older and slower.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's going to work out well.
Yeah,
I mean, it was an aberration.
Sure.
Next year's, it's like playing fantasy football and thinking, you know what, this year's a kicker's year. And you realize, oh, crap, it's not.
Yeah, it's, and, if we're going to be honest, it could be not a bad year to be bad.
Yeah, I mean, if only you had a way of, getting a high pick and also making the playoffs.
Wait a minute.
That'd be nice.
That would be nice.
Wouldn't it be nice? So Chicago, I just don't see... I see them starting to become more sellers.
Yeah.
I wonder how much longer they want to carry on those Taves and Kane contracts, both of them. Because investing a little $21 million into two guys that are going to hit their 30s in today's NHL is dangerous.
Yes, it is.
And I think they're definitely right in line with the contracts that are going to be signed now. Your elite players are going to be making $10 million a year.
Yep, absolutely.
Just get ready. Elite defensemen anywhere from 8 to 11. Just expect it.
Yep.
Because, and I called this back when they changed those. You can't do the 14-year contracts. So the players are going, well, I want the same amount of money, just shorten the years.
Yep.
And that's what you have now.
Yep. So Chicago's still kind of blah. They're kind of it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back because they do still have some.
Corey Crawford is worth enough of a 10-point bounce back to keep them from being truly bad.
Yeah. We'll certainly see what all that does. So they're kind of a keep your eye
again,
on.
Though they're toast.
Yeah,
and they know.
Absolutely. Dallas is another team that kind of. What have they done? They
brought back Valerian Nichushkin.
Yes.
Which that's going to be dangerous. Their top six is legit.
Oh, totally. They've always had. That's kind of been their bread and butter. Is they've been able to score. That's their big thing. They can score. They picked up Blake Como. Defensively, they're still the same.
Yeah, they're rumored to be in on Karlsson though.
Yeah, some of the more recent things I've been reading from some guys don't see him going there.
Well, it'll take Miro Heiskanen to do it.
Yeah, it certainly would.
And the question is, I wonder if Miro Heiskanen is going to make a try to be an NHL player next year.
You could see it.
Or if he's going to stay in Europe for another year. Mm-hmm. I can see both equally well. I don't know that he wants to play in the AHL.
Yeah. Yeah, tough call to make for sure. And then of course there's a guy. One of the other big things for them to have to try to figure out is Ben Bishop going to be a decent goalie?
Ben Bishop was a decent goaltender last year. He just got hurt at the worst time. Dallas was really charging for a playoff spot, and then Bishop got hurt, and it tanked him.
I would say inconsistent maybe would be a decent word for him.
Inconsistent is fine, but when he was on his game, he was great.
You can say that about pretty much anybody.
Yeah, but especially Ben Bishop.
Yeah, he's a guy who never seems to have it for a long, consistent stretch of time.
Well, which is why the signing of Anton Hubinin is actually quietly very, very solid.
Yes, he is a very strong backup.
He played in 53 games last year. Goals against average under 3, save percentage above .915. He's right at league average.
Yep.
And he's been at least. He usually hovers right around 915, 2.5, 2.3 goals against per game.
Nope, solid backup. I have no issues with Hudobin.
Oh, that was Bishop's stats.
Oh, Bishop, gotcha. Yeah, we were talking about Hudobin, and then you jumped over there.
Hudobin is he's a really good solid backup, and they're doing the same thing with them with Huberdin that the Avs did with Bernier.
Yep.
They're paying, and what the Avs are doing with Grubauer this year.
Yeah, pretty much, right.
Only difference is Huberdin is 32 and Grubauer is 26.
Yep. And I'm good with that.
Going on to our favorite team, Minnesota Wild.
Yeah.
But have I told you when they've announced when the Avalanche season starts, with the game time for the season opener?
What's that?
7 past Dubnik. I don't know if I said that on air before, but I'm going to say it again because it's funny.
I don't think you had, but yes, that's good. 7 past Dubnik. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, Minnesota is what? They signed Matt Hendricks, who is 37, just because they wanted to be more douchey.
They wanted to be more like the terrible ass teams.
They
to do that, Kyle Quincy is still a free agent.
Yep. They signed Andrew Hammond to a 2-way contract.
Because they saw Game 5 and not Game 6.
Yep. Man, good stuff. Minnesota, of course, is... I mean, they haven't done much of anything, partially because they can't really, because they don't have much cap space. They've also are going to arbitration with Jason Zucker and Matt Dumba, 2 of their best young players.
They also have $10 million in cap space for both of them.
Yep.
And those guys should eat up. I mean, if you figure at least $3 million.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
That's on the low end. That's $6 million right down the tubes. And they have you have like the most middlingest talent ever. Koivu's 35. Zach Parise is signed for so many more years.
And he's already 33.
Ryan Suter.
Same thing.
Everything that they've got going for them is just...
It's not looking great.
But they have a coach who he's known for getting into the playoffs. So he's got that going for him.
Yeah. He's not really known for doing anything in the playoffs.
Hey.
Anything positive,
he's a perfect Minnesota Wild coach.
Yeah, perfect. Minnesota's going to be due for a fall off here at some point. It's probably not going to be this season. They're probably going to be about the same as they've been.
They're going to hover right around the central is an Oreo cookie.
Yeah.
The top cookie part is the Predators and the Jets. And the bottom part is probably Chicago. Maybe Colorado. Who knows? They've been so up and down on the standings. I don't know what to make of Colorado. Everything in between is just squished.
Yeah. They can be. They're certainly the double stuff. That's for sure. All kinds of stuff in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's even a double stuff that you actually take the cookie off 2 ends and just make it a quadruple stuff.
Yeah, that's the stuff right there.
Eric Stahl's 33. He's going to be making 3.5. That's actually a good contract.
Yeah, that is. They happened to catch him on a very down season, and I was surprised. He's had some good years. His last couple seasons there have been very good, and I think it took a lot of people by surprise. He looked pretty much done in his last couple years in Carolina, he certainly has been revitalized in Minnesota, which is a weird thing to say, but they've gotten excellent value out of him. There's no doubt about that. And then
I just don't see. Spurgeon making $5 million. That's quite the. That's pretty expensive. Jonas Brodin making 4.1. That's a pretty good deal. They signed Greg Pateryn, who is a bottom pair defenseman that they're paying to be a middle pair defenseman, 2.25.
I don't know. I think that's pretty bottom money.
Yeah, upon further review, but Pateryn is just not great at anything.
Yeah.
I just don't see. I see a middling team that's not going to go anywhere, but still going to be fighting for the playoffs.
Yeah, they're like you said, they're going to be in the middle
and
of
they're
that order.
right about its sunset.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our last team.
The St. Louis Blues, who
made the best trade so far of the offseason.
They of course acquired one Ryan O'Reilly for a lot of guys.
Yeah. They acquired him for Spacely Space Sprockets. It's cogs in a machine for... I don't know what Buffalo was thinking there. They're like, yeah, we need to get younger. We need to get all this. We're doing a rebuild. We want Patrick Berglund and Vladimir Sobotka.
Yeah. On the plus side, that means Matt Duchene has someone to fight.
Yay. Wouldn't it be sad if Duchene fought him, broke his hand, and Ottawa became even worse?
That'd be sad for someone. Probably not us.
There's a whole song about Schadenfreude.
Yeah, there is.
In my head right now.
I know exactly where that's from, too.
There's a reason I'm not singing lyrics.
That's what stairs are for. Yeah, the full trade was a 2019 first, a 2021 second. Yes, a 2021 second. Tage Thompson.
That year, Buffalo will still be terrible.
Tage Thompson, Vladimir Sobotka, and Patrick Berglund.
Yay.
And they got Ryan O'Reilly. I mean, that's...
Are you sure that this wasn't Mark Bergevin or Peter Chiarelli or, I don't know his first name, Dorian?
We're not positive. Same division, so they must as Dorian, right? So they must be drinking the same water.
Yeah.
But
this instantly gives St. Louis probably one of the better first lines in the division.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
I mean, Shen, O'Reilly, Tarasenko is terrifying.
That's very good.
And
very, very good.
To be perfectly honest, the Avs have someone in their division who is capable of shutting down Nathan McKinnon. I've seen a couple the games against Buffalo. Ryan O'Reilly he's smart enough to know what McKinnon wants to do and good enough to stop him.
Well, I think one of the biggest things that he has going for him is also he will beat him on the face-off because McKinnon is not good at face-offs.
And Ryan O'Reilly is fantastic.
And Ryan O'Reilly is a fantastic face-off man. So for one right there, you can almost guarantee that the possession is straight away.
The Blues also they brought back David Perron, which was a head scratcher because this is his third time there.
Yeah.
So
you got to make. I mean, obviously O'Reilly is an excellent get for them.
Tyler Bozak is also pretty good.
He's okay, but good lord,
I like it better now that O'Reilly is there.
Yeah. But I mean, are you still expecting that $5 million a year? You're expecting Tyler Bozak to be your second line center?
Yeah, that's a lot of money for a guy who should be your third line center.
Easily should be your third line center. Probably will end up being your third line center.
Mm-hmm. Because Barbashev is totally your second line center. They have a good defense with Pietrangelo. Pietrangelo's 2 years from UFA. That's dangerous. Parayko, Bouwmeester's 34, but he can still bounce it around a little bit.
He's making a lot of money.
Edson is still quality. So they have a top four that's good, bordering on serviceable.
Yeah. Jake Allen is their big question mark for sure. You talk about inconsistent goaltending. He is pretty much the poster child for that. I mean, this is a team that if the Avs start to float offers for Semyon Varlamov, they would probably come hard for him. Oh man, I don't know. Even being in division. Yeah, that would be. I mean, they better be in division. You better be asking a lot. Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't know what the Blues. Maybe you asked for one of their goaltenders, Ville Husso.
Maybe.
But then again, if you're trading Ville Husso for Varlamov, that sounds dumb enough for them to do it.
It's so crazy, it just might work. Yeah, I mean, I think
it's just crazy enough to do it.
I mean, of the division, I think it's fair to say St. Louis had probably the most productive offseason.
Yeah, before O'Reilly, I would have said they had the worst, but O'Reilly bumps them up into actually the best.
I mean, otherwise, not many other teams really did that much. Colorado included. Colorado got a couple depth guys. Yes, they got Grubauer. Otherwise, Chicago got a couple of old guys. Minnesota didn't really do much. Nashville.
Minnesota and Chicago are my least favorite. St. Louis and, oddly enough, St. Louis are my favorite teams.
Yeah.
And then
Dallas did pretty much the same thing Colorado did up to this point. They got Blake Como and a couple depth guys, and nothing super special.
The only thing that will change that is one Erik Karlsson.
Indeed, one Erik Karlsson. Now, to this point, let me update my Twitter feed to make sure of this. To this point, the top of my Twitter feed is Karlsson getting traded or not? So at this point, Erik Karlsson has not been traded. It seems almost a foregone conclusion that he will be traded before the start of the season here.
Could you imagine that they walk into the season with him?
Who is they?
Senators.
Oh, man.
They walk into the season with Karlsson still on there?
That's craziness. I mean...
it would be one of those you would almost expect the player not to show up.
Almost. I mean, if there's a guy who really wouldn't necessarily have to, who could say, nah, I'm good, and still command the same amount of attention from around the league, it would be Erik Karlsson. You're not really worried about him.
And the Avs are sitting with the most perfect catbird seat right now. They're either Karlsson is traded to them, or they get a for sure, pretty much top 5 pick.
Obviously we'd have to see what the return would be, depending on who he's going to and what they're sending back. But yeah, generally speaking, you would have to, just knowing that they're going to be losing, obviously their best, not just their best defenseman, their best player, and not just their best player, but more or less almost a surefire future Hall of Famer. That's obviously not going to have a positive toll on your system. But at the same time, you can't necessarily guarantee that where they're going to finish. But it would certainly look like they have a fast track to the bottom of the Eastern Conference.
They're about to go swimming with an anvil strapped to their legs.
Indeed. I mean, it's not just Karlsson wanting out. Craig Anderson has made it known that he'd like to be moved.
Matt Duchene's in the last year of his contract.
And we all know how he exited Colorado, talking about wanting to go play meaningful hockey. And there's already been rumors that the Islanders are talking to Ottawa about Duchene again.
At this point with Ottawa, blow it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're going to blow it up, get your pick back, whatever it takes.
That's certainly.
And there's only way it's going to happen.
The philosophy. The only way it's going to happen is if it comes to the Colorado Avalanche. Now, the question would be, and obviously we put out a feeler for questions, and naturally a lot of people have come around with this one. What is the deal? What are you looking to give away for Erik Karlsson. Now, obviously, it would be great if the Avalanche could do everything in possible to not give back Ottawa's pick.
I'm not giving up my hollow Charizard. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I have a couple other Charizard you can have, but that hollow one is staying with me.
Yeah. Now, that being said, I've kind of come around to the realization that the Karlsson trade, a Karlsson trade to Colorado, pretty much doesn't happen unless Ottawa's pick is going back to them, because it just isn't in Ottawa's interest.
Have so much leverage that should almost be everything that goes back to them.
Almost.
They ask for Cale Makar. I ask you to go fuck yourself.
Absolutely.
We'd like Cale Makar. Well, I would like a gold mansion on Star Island with a chocolate room.
My response to that is, I want $1 million and a toilet made of solid gold. I say that to my.
If you're getting that pick back in Makar, I do believe I have some oceanfront property in Las Vegas to sell you.
There is absolutely no way that both of those goes. I mean, I'd be reluctant to just give Makar, even if that meant keeping Ottawa's pick. I feel the piece has pretty much got to be the big piece, the most valuable piece in this is Ottawa's first pick.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's beginning to look a lot more like Hughes.
It certainly is. Now, obviously, that has. I mean, there's no guarantee in that because you're even with the best odds in the draft lottery, you're still technically more likely to be drafting not first overall than you are to be drafting first overall.
Well, and this is kind of a conundrum with the way that Ottawa's luck has gone. Would their luck be that they finish last and lose the lottery, or that they win the lottery because their luck is that bad and it's going to the Avs?
Well, obviously the hope would be that the latter is that their luck is that bad that they would win the lottery, but it's with the Avalanche, so they're actually in fact losing big time because the Avalanche now have won it all.
This is like a science thing of if you put buttered toast and strap it to a cat's back.
Yeah, what's going to happen?
Drop them, what happens?
Indeed. So, I mean, let's look at this. So we pretty much assume that Ottawa pick has got to go back. What else? What else do you add into that trade?
Tyson Barrie.
I think that would be the ideal. I don't know that Ottawa would take Tyson Barrie. Not because they wouldn't value him as a player, but because they have a cheap owner, and
they're a year out from the same whole thing.
Yep.
He's 2 years left on his contract.
2 years left on his contract. That's at $5.5 million per. They could potentially flip him and trade him somewhere else, but I mean, I don't necessarily know.
Seriously, offer would be Timmins, Nemeth, their first. Call it a day. It's really horrendously low, but I'm not in the interest. I have zero interest in making you a fair offer when I have your nuts in a vice. I assume that you would really like your nuts not in a vice, and that self-preservation instinct would kick in and make you take a lesser deal just to, be able to not sing soprano.
For sure. I mean, so Ottawa's first. I kind of have Timmins / Milosh, whichever one you feel like going.
Yeah, one or the other.
One or the other. I feel like that's probably a fair flip of the coin right there. I've even said the Avs third in the upcoming draft because the Avs also have Ottawa's third. And then maybe to put a little bit of sauce on it, Sven Andrighetto.
Or even Alex Kerfoot.
Potentially. They're both young, cheap contracts. Ooh, that was pretty. They're both young, cheap contracts. I feel like that might be that's still pretty decent for the Avs getting Erik Karlsson back.
I mean, you're getting a 27-year-old defenseman who's a free agency.
Yes.
There's the one thing you have to have at least verbal agreement of a full extension from Karlsson at the time of the deal.
Fuck a verbal agreement. I want it signed before the deal happens.
Well, it has to be verbal because you can sign it and then... Yeah.
Right. I want it. This is absolutely. It's 100% contingent on the fact that Karlsson has signed an extension and is staying with the team forever. If Karlsson is not signing an extension with the Avalanche, or really anybody, I don't do this at all because I'm not spending a massive amount for a rental on Erik Karlsson. There's no benefit to doing that for anybody.
Mm-hmm. And Ottawa's in such a lose-lose situation. I think the rumor last night was that he was going to go to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
We didn't know what the return was, but it was going to be something along the lines of Sergachev and probably Radish and a first for him.
Yeah.
It's not terrible.
Not terrible. Let me read a couple things here. This is from Jesse Montano, who is part of the BSN podcast. He said he tweeted out a few things yesterday. First one being Elliot Friedman said that he was told Karlsson is only willing to sign an extension with Tampa at this moment. Between that and reports that the Ottawa Sun from the Ottawa Sun beat writer, it sounds like Erik Karlsson is likely joining Victor Hedman, an absolutely terrifying top pair. So if he's only willing to sign an extension with Tampa, then guess where he's going? He's going to Tampa.
And
the next part he says is, let me find about he kind of teased it. He didn't report anything because obviously nothing was confirmed. But basically, where is it? Where'd it go? Basically, he was saying that he had heard rumblings of an offer from Tampa going to Ottawa that was massive, that Joe Sakic couldn't possibly match, and that essentially was Tampa giving up the farm.
And Tampa Bay's in about a win-now mode. They're the most win-now you could be as a franchise.
Yeah.
This is a move that you make when you're ready to, when you have all your pieces together and you want to push them into the middle.
Yeah. Here's what he said. If the return for Karlsson ends up being what I just heard, holy smokes.
And then the stuff I've heard is we need a third team to come in to take on some salary.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Which means the Avs are going to come in and get Ottawa's 2020 first for taking on the contract of Ryan Callahan.
Who would you rather take on, Ryan Callahan or Bobby Ryan?
Ryan Callahan.
All right.
Ryan Callahan doesn't have a no movement clause, at least it's not a full one. Well, Bobby Ryan's is, and even though that's 2 years away, that plays in the expansion draft, and I'm not playing with that.
Fair.
That's a flame I'm not eating. Thank you very much.
Fair. So, I mean, the rumor right now definitely seems to be Tampa Bay as the place, which kind of based off of the people in the mix, it certainly seems the most interesting for Karlsson, especially if he's looking to try to go win. It's certainly one of the more difficult ones, considering Tampa. Signing Karlsson to what would be a pretty, let's face it, it's going to be, I would say he would be wanting probably more than Drew Doughty.
Definitely more than Drew Doughty. He's a better defenseman.
I would say so.
More points.
He may be, if he goes where he wants to go and gets the team that he wants, he might feel friendly enough, I guess, to go ahead and take the Drew Doughty deal. But even so, that's still $11 million that you're every season that you're committing, and then you still got a lot of things to take into consideration. Not the least of which is one Nikita Kucherov, who is not only coming up on a new contract, who's coming up on a new contract next season, and is obviously going to be due another pretty ridiculously large raise. So there's a lot to figure out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure when this gets done, but Ottawa's got a gun to their head.
Yeah.
And they have to make this deal. They have to try and make a deal for Craig Anderson. They have to try and offload Bobby Ryan.
Yep.
They might have to look at the deadline of moving Matt Duchene.
Yep.
And we both know what Matt Duchene's like when he's wanting to be moved. This is ugly.
It's very ugly, yeah.
This is the kind of thing that gets a team sold and moved.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see them end up in Quebec City before too long.
Hey, you're reading my mind.
Yeah. It makes too much sense. Makes too much sense. So, Erik Karlsson to the Avs obviously would be amazing. I think the Avs could make it happen. I like the idea personally of Ottawa's first, Meloche / Timmins, whichever you feel is best. Avs third, and or another expendable draft pick that you feel that you could throw in there. And
tell Ottawa, yeah, we're sending your pick back to you, and don't disclose until it's done and it's their third.
Right, exactly. And then Sven Andriga. Or you can have your top pick back, but guess what? It is top 5 protected. Top 10 protected. Love it. That'd be the best. At the end of the day, and even before all the Tampa news, you had to kind of think that still it's kind of a long shot for this sort of thing to happen for the Avs. It's good to know that the Avs have been actively working to see what they can make happen, that they're not just sitting back.
The Avs are 2 years away from making these kinds of moves.
Yeah.
The only reason that they're thinking about this one is because they have the leverage.
Because they have that Ottawa pick. Absolutely. Ooh, this is a long one we're going on right now, brother.
Well, it might be our last for a while.
Yeah, it certainly was. We're making it worth it. Are there any other types of trades out there that you would see that you could potentially see the Avs looking to make?
Tyson Barrie to Toronto.
Yeah, that's certainly. Which would you prefer from Toronto, Nylander or Marner, or is that Nylander?
Austin Matthews. Why? He grew up in Arizona. We're right next door.
We're very close. You can get like a $69 flight on Southwest down there, Austin.
When Seattle, nice. Nice timing on that too.
You're welcome.
The ding.
Yeah, I know. Good timing on that. Totally unrelated. My wife sent me a text message.
But Nylander is the one that I want. He'd be the winger for that. The first line. Your first line becomes Nylander, McKinnon, and Rantanen. Landeskog drops down with Jost, which is nice.
Yes.
And you probably, when everything is all played out, Martin Kaut lands on that second line.
Who also signed his entry-level contract.
Congrats to him. And then you have a guy like Kerfoot next to Bowers, with Comfer mixed in there.
Oh, man, Bowers.
Kamenev will be mixed in. AJ Greer. It's coming.
A guy I would certainly look for and you would want to try to get him signed to an extension super quick as well, is Jeff Skinner. Now, naturally, he exists on the one team that sending Tyson Barrie to makes absolutely no sense for.
Oh, but that would fill out their top six really nicely. I don't know that they have a point producer the way Tyson Barrie does.
Yeah. I would love me some Jeff Skinner. Because I feel he's 26. Proven scorer. I think he'd fit great as well on that. Just like what you said with Nylander. Exact same thing. Skinner goes up and sits with McKinnon and Rantanen. Landeskog goes to play with Jost. That would make me a happy fella.
Hey, trade Tyson Barrie for a top lane winger. He's worth it, and you can get it. Do it.
Yep.
This is also 2 years down the line, but it also frees you up to do the 7-3-1 as opposed to the 4-4-1.
Indeed, you got to be thinking about that long term.
If you're going to really play this out and you're rebuilding, the expansion draft has to be at least something you consider. Even though everything's going to change, you still have to prepare like it.
Yep. Let's see. So we got some questions, also some comments from some folks. At MacWinnan, he says he's too sick to call this time. It's all good, Spencer. It's all good. But he's got a couple things to say. First, he spent most of last year watching Ian Cole with the Blue Jackets. The guy is an MF animal. He will eat pucks like it's his job, and he just looks like an absolute monster of a human being. Super jacked. I'm so stoked to hear from AJ Haefele that Cale Makar looks like he's all boom right now as a pick, and that he could be wearing an Avs sweater by the end of the season. If that happens, I'm not sure what will stop the future Avs dynasty. 3, Matt Calvert scores some big playoff goals. Solid ad. Thank you for the comment there. We have at Avs Canadian, who says people seem to be really split on packaging Makar and their first and Ottawa's first, and more in the fan trades. Not that I think he's coming to Colorado. What are your thoughts around that type of trade? We kind of addressed that.
We covered that. Basically, I'm not going to be pushed into a corner when I hold all the leverage.
Exactly. Yeah. If I have the best seat in the fight here, I don't know why I'm giving you any help. So yeah, no, there's no way I send both of those. You can have if they want Karlsson, they can have their first round pick back, but hands off my Makar.
Mm-hmm.
At Lonely Badger, Space Loth says, does Sakic really have a plan for second line help?
The plan for second line help is to give the kids the first shot.
Yep. That certainly seems like what it is.
And if that doesn't work, you're going to use Barrie as a trade piece to make it happen.
Yep.
And the ultimate goal for the second line help is Jack Hughes.
That would be nice.
I mean, double it up, Jack Hughes and Nolan Foote. Yeah, I just said that.
Yeah, right. Then our last Twitter question comes from Meeks, who says, and this is a great question, which Avs player do you put your money on in a syrup chugging contest?
Tyson Jost.
Tyson Jost, really?
When you're in North Dakota, you have a lot of free time to do stupid things.
Yeah, he only spent a year there, though. He didn't have a lot of time to learn.
A year in North Dakota is like free everywhere else.
Yeah, but he was playing hockey.
Yeah, on the weekends.
Let me take a look here at our. I feel like it should be the guy who has the most impressive beard.
Yeah.
Landy? So, well, I mean, from last year it's Landy, but I think with the acquisition of Ian Cole, it might have to be Ian Cole.
That's potential. Maybe we sign Zanin to a one-day contract.
There you go. As for the specific purpose of syrup chugging. Otherwise, if it's not the beard of the guy who looks most like a lumberjack, I'd have to go with the person the most the sweetest of them. So that would probably be Landy. So yeah.
Yeah, but I go with the guy who's the most Canadian. And that feels like Tyson Jost to me.
All right. Sounds good. We have one voice call which came a few days ago, just before Free Agent Frenzy got going. This is from Jacob Hill. And he has another trade question. We kind of addressed his Karlsson stuff, but he does bring up another one.
Hey, this is Jacob Hill from Bakersfield, California. Just wanted to ask you guys that there's been a little bit of rumors going along that the Avs are trying to make a play on Panarin. What do you think we would have to give to get that? What we'd have to do to get that? How do you like the chances? Another question is, if the Avs could get Erik Karlsson, but all they really have to do is give up that Ottawa first-round pick, would you take it? Assuming Erik Karlsson would sign a contract with us, a 7 or 8 year 7-year contract with us. How do you like the odds of that happening, and would you do it? That's pretty much my question.
Excellent. All right. Thank you for the question. And again, if you want to give us a call on the Burgundy Brigade Hotline, the number there is 720-477-3762. I think the easy one there is Erik Karlsson. If you could get Karlsson for just that Ottawa first, you slam dunk that sucker all freaking day long.
I would do Erik Karlsson, 1 year of Erik Karlsson for that first, pretty much.
Yeah, I was going to say that would almost be worth it for just the 1 year.
Right.
I mean, still, you really would hope that you could. That he would come on a he would re-sign with you, because again, that pick is so high, you would still want the feedback from that. Now, as far as Panarin, I did also remember there was a couple random tweets out there. I don't remember if they were from any reputable sources, but that the Avalanche were kicking tires on Artemi Panarin out of Columbus. Again, he's another guy that if you want to get him, I'd look at making sure that you have an extension in place for him.
Given the way the Avs sign ex-Columbus people.
Yeah. Seems like it'd be a good fit, right?
I mean, it feels like we just wait until free agency day and bring him in.
Yeah, just like Cole and Calvert be like, dude, bread man, come to Denver. Yeah, I would love to have Panarin come to Colorado. The guy is immensely skilled. He would
be so good, and he would terrorize the Blackhawks so much. It would be fun.
All over the place. It would be so much fun to do.
I like Panarin, but the cost to trade him for 1 year would...
Again, that's
a little... 2 years down the line, I do this just because the Avs are in a different mode.
Right.
But now they are still a rebuilding team.
Yeah, I think again, you look again. If you're looking to make that deal, you talk to Columbus and say, I want to talk to his. If can kind of come to an agreement on this, I'd like to talk to his agent and make sure that we can get an extension in place. Panarin has already, I think, rejected an offer from Columbus because he wants to go to market.
He's going to test free agency, it looks like.
Yeah, he seems to want to go to market.
And the way that John Tavares just cashed in, why wouldn't you?
Absolutely, I can't fault the guy even a little bit. But I certainly don't blame the Avalanche for kicking the tires. That seems like that's another place that you say, well, Tyson Barrie could work there. Maybe not. They kind of have a few guys in place that are already going to do pretty well for them, offensively speaking, with Seth Jones.
If you get Panarin, you want to sign him. You sign him. You don't give up anything to get him because there's nothing Columbus will really want.
Yeah, I think that's a tough trade partner. You could possibly talk them into Tyson Barrie and be like, look, you've got your top guys, and now you can just put Tyson Barrie out in offensive situations straight out there, and not have to worry about his defense. Maybe that works. Maybe that doesn't. That's really Tyson Barrie is kind of the Avs' biggest trade chip right now.
There isn't another piece that they have like him.
Yep.
Defenseman puts up 50 to 60 points. You pay attention. And he signed for another year beyond this one.
Yes, he is.
He's reasonable cap hit. For a team that's wanting that last piece to make a real push, he's the guy.
Yeah. And who knows? I mean, maybe Columbus ends up needing a guy like that. I don't know. But
if they want a little more scoring punch and if they want someone to advance the puck through the neutral zone, sure.
Yeah. Panarin certainly is another guy that you would want the Avalanche to explore getting an extension for him before you trade for him, because you don't want to be renting too much. The Avs aren't, like you said, the Avs are a couple years away from being in the spot where they can be like, all right, let's get a rental and see if we can't make that push. So yeah, all right. Thanks, Jacob, for the call. Again, the Burgundy Brigade hotline is 720-477-3762. Give us a call, leave us a message. We'll get you on the podcast. And I think we might have ourselves a podcast, man. Do you have anything else to add?
No, we'll keep watching the Twitter to see where Karlsson lands.
Yeah, let's update here real quick. See if he's been traded during our questions here. But he hasn't?
No, my timeline is deep Rockies baseball.
Oh, well, okay.
But if something were to happen there, it would be deep Erik Karlsson.
Fair enough. I'd say that's probably true of everybody. Then, just like when John Tavares signed, Cap Friendly would also probably break. So, it seems like we've got ourselves a podcast right there.
Well, that's a good podcast. This
one will last you for a while. We're over an hour and a half now.
Listen to us fight over when Connor Timmins plays meaningful minutes. That was entertaining.
It certainly, yeah. So, there's a lot of stuff that's going to become there's a lot of time between now and the next real meaningful stuff for the Avalanche here. The rookie camps and stuff don't really get going until September. So yeah, I guess it's time to just sort of wait for a little while. Well, should more things come up and happen, we'll probably have we may have another short podcast in August at some time. We'll have to talk about how to make that work. But at the same time, we don't want to necessarily just talk about nothing for 50 minutes. So thanks.
Not that I'm opposed to that.
Was that?
Maybe we'll live stream our fantasy football draft.
There you go.
Fun for you guys.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Of course, I can't be there this time. That's sad.
You had to move.
I had to. I did have to. I really did.
I know you literally had to.
Right on. Well, Aaron, as always, thank you for joining me, my friend. It's always fun talking with you.
And you have a wonderful night.
Excellent. Thanks for sticking around on another edition of the Burgundy Brigade podcast. We will see you online. Again, you can find us at BRG Brigade Kevin on Twitter, at Avalangelist on Twitter. You can follow the podcast on Podbean. We are also available for subscription on iTunes. And I'm sure there's a few other. Those are the big places to find us. I think there's probably a few other ways to find the podcast. Those are the big ones. The Facebook page is still Burgundy Brigade. Facebook.com/Burgundy Brigade. And yeah, have a good rest of your July, and we will see you later.
Peace.